I've had a lot of small block Chevys, and I've never had that issue. I mean, we're into Ford territory now because this is what happened. Another top of the morning to you guys. So I've drugged the motor over. Got to reinstall the intake manifold because the previous owner of this engine said it leaked on the back. But the gray silicone they were using, I don't see how, because I like to knock that crap off of this engine. But I cleaned the intake manifold and the parts washer. Cleaned it as best I could. Let's check it out. 90cc cylinder heads on it. Like I said, it's a little dirty, but I really don't care. I want it to just run good and everything. So I went through my stash of gaskets that I've got, and I found an intake gasket, kind of a old set. I always love to buy all this stuff I can get. $13 for a set of intake gaskets. No telling how old these are. But I'm gonna open it up and make sure the ports and stuff match up correctly. I guess put this intake on and then try to start bolting a bunch of parts on and getting it ready to fit down in the car. So. So another thing I like to do here, guys, is I like to put the starter on. It's got the flywheel that came on it, but what I like to do is make sure this meshes properly and cranks over right. So I kind of just seems to sound pretty good to me. So the starter motor works, the motor cranks. I think I'm good with that. So I got the starter, the mounts on, but I was kind of looking at the dampener and everything, and I kind of thought something was up with it. Well, look at that pulley alignment. Now these are the factory small block Chevy pulleys, but I'm not for sure if the balancer's all the way on. So let's get our trusty tool out and try to see if we can try to get this thing on there. Guys, we got a problem. So I'm trying to pull this damper back off to see why it's not lining up with the pulleys, and here's my puller. It's bent. This thing is not moving. So something's wrong here. Either this thing has not been installed correctly or we've got a bad problem. All right, so we switched to a snap-on puller, and we're gonna try to finish pulling it off. Actually, I already started and it's coming off. But I'm just real worried about why this damper is not fitting correctly and everything. So it came off, but my All right, we're gonna look at the front of the crankshaft here and make sure nothing's damaged on it. But I wonder if it's bottoming out on that cam gear. I mean, everything looks fine. Why isn't it going all the way on. Is there, maybe the water pump's weird? All I know is there's a short and long water pump, and this is the long water pump. I've never quite had this issue before. So everything looks fine. Huh. Kind of weird. Okay, so here's my plan B, and we're in the house, and I absolutely despise bringing the car stuff in the house, but I'll show you what I'm doing. So a lot of those aftermarket dampeners, the tolerances are really tight when they go on there. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in a pan of boiling water, because I'm kind of suspicioning this thing was not installed properly. So I'm gonna put it in there, I'm gonna boil this and let it get real hot. We're going to run all the way out there and then put it on and try to install it and see if it will seat all the way, because I don't think it's on there all the way, and I don't see them making this one different than a factory one, because then none of your pulleys would ever line up. So we'll try and see what it does. Hey guys, so got the balancer on. It's bottomed out, it's all the way on. Our pulley is still 1/16 of an inch off, which in all my time of messing with small block Chevys, I've had a little pulley misalignment issues, but nothing, some washers couldn't fix. But for it to be this far out on all this stuff, kind of weird. So let me show you what I've got. All right, so I've decided to just go ahead and install all the accessories on this. Okay, so the water pump pulley, first off, those thread pitches are different than all the other thread pitches I've got on this pump. But you can see, I don't even have to get a straight edge to show you guys. That's the misalignment. Now, you can put washers behind the water pump and pull it out, but then you're gonna misalign the alternator. But here's the next weird thing that I'm having a problem with is now I have that on there. This is all the way up against it. The holes don't line up. So I've had a lot of small block Chevys, and I've never had that issue. I mean, we're into Ford territory now, because this is what happens on your 70s and 80s Fords. You get the half years where, and I did this on my red Ford, and that's why I'm going to keep a Ford motor in it, because I went through absolute hell to getting all my pulleys and belts and all that stuff to line up, and I just finally threw all the V-belt stuff and got a serpentine set up for it off of 90s. But anyways, but so far, this isn't worth it to me. I mean, none of my stuff is lining up, and it's like, is there something with the water pump? Again, I've never had an issue with a water pump being different. You either got a short or a long one, or some of them you have a different inside diameter for that, for a different pulley. But I mean, come on now. And I didn't even look to see the top. Oh my God, look at that. So that's the alternator, which is pretty much where it would be. Look at that pulley line up. So something's wrong. I'm starting to think maybe this water pump is wrong. So I've got the one that actually came off the engine that was in this car. Let's pull this back apart and let's change this water pump, because that's the only thing to me that makes sense. So I pulled this water pump off, and it had no gaskets on it, just silicone, and it was pretty stuck on there. I've never really put a water pump on without any gaskets, and that will make up some of the difference on the thickness. So, kind of interesting. But I can tell you I'm a little disappointed so far. Like, one of the reasons I went with this is because everything will just bolt on it. But, I hadn't shared yet either, my headers that I have, I know the exhaust ports on these heads are raised a little bit, but the holes don't quite line up. So I'm going to have to work on my headers a little bit to fit this. But I'm only willing to do so much modification to put a small block back in there, because that's one reason I didn't do the LS, or I decided to do this, because it would just go in and get the car running. I'm not going to put much having to modify everything to fit this particular engine, because if I'm going to do that, I'm going to go for efficiency, a better power band, a better power range, and I'm going to go ahead and put the LS in it. I mean, and I am a little irritated because, like I said, this has wasted a whole day. I've had that balancer off twice. I mean, I've spent the whole day on this, and my goal was to get the motor bolted in the car, and start, because like I said, I wanted to get this going. But if I have to sit here and custom fit every part on this, I don't, even though I know it makes good power, it's a damn good motor, but I mean, if I'm going to customize it, I'm going to have something that's efficient, EFI, you know, and that'll help the resale of the car if I'd ever decide to sell it, you know. Because really the only thing that benefits me, because I just want to get the car on the road and running, but I'm only willing to do so much custom modification and changing this and changing that and modifying this to work and buying more stuff. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just venting, you know what I mean? But yeah, now I'm done for the day. I've got to go take care of some business and do this, and I'm not where I wanted to be today. So, and I hope this helps, because like I think a lot of them paint a really neat picture of how easy all this stuff is, and like I'm only willing to put up so much shit on some of this stuff before I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it exactly the way I want. If I've got to do a bunch of crap and it's going to take me a lot of time, you know. So this is real deal, guys. I mean, like I said, I've had a lot of these. It may not seem like I'm a big old school kind of fan, and I am. It's just I'm only willing to do so much stuff, you know, before it gets unnecessary, in my opinion. But it does look good, though. It is a good looking motor. So, but yeah, I got to take care of some business. So today starts a new day, guys. So the issue I had was my brackets and stuff were not lining up. Well, I changed the water pump and everything lines up correctly. Put the alternator on, blah, blah, this, that, and the other. But the problem I was having now, these heads are a little bit thicker. You know, aftermarket intake, some things changed. My bolt hole was like halfway off right here. So what I did is I cut the bracket and I extended it with a piece of metal and got it going across there. I just now got done welding it. This thing's about 10,000 degrees. And yeah, so now my holes are going to line up. I'm just going to take my grinder and clean up those welds a little bit. Spackle on a little bit of paint. I think it's going to be good. But I need to run down and get another water pump. That's the old one off of the engine that was in this car and everything. But yeah, and get the proper gaskets to put it on and all that. But I'm going to check the headers, because the holes weren't exactly lining up on them headers I have, and I've got a round file. I was going to put my drill and make those fit. But I think after I get these few key things done, I think we're going to put the engine in the car. So after a little grinding, a little flap disc, I'd say that turned out good enough. All right, guys, so there it is. All of my bracket stuff is lined up properly. The alternator and stuff is as close as I can get it. The bottom and the water pump is close. I'm sure the power steering is going to be all right. I went ahead and modified this bracket here. This used to have a piece that went up to hold the large AC compressor, which we will not be using anymore. So I had to have this part for the power steering pump to bolt to. So I went ahead and trimmed it off, kind of dressed it up some. I'll take it off, paint it black, put it back. But yeah, I've got to do this. I want to put a new water pump on. I got another cleaner looking alternator I'll probably put on it. But that's going to sum up what I'm doing on the front. Now let's get the headers to fit on this thing. So here's what I don't understand. Again, I've been doing this for a long time with these. And here are the holes in the cylinder head. I've got these two bolts in. They went in, but look at my other ones. How far off those holes are. It's almost like the flange on these headers are warped. And I know they said the exhaust ports are raised on these heads like 0.005, which that means it's raised height-wise, not apart. So what I did, I'm going to bring I've got a factory head here. We're going to see if this header fits this factory head and do some testing. But something's not right. All right, so here's that factory style cylinder head. And I can't get this one to go in. Can't get that one to go in because it's rubbing on the top, and that one doesn't want to go in. So the only two that are wanting to go in is this one and this one. But what gets me is these are heavy, thick flanges. How is this header warped? It almost acts to me like that's what's wrong with it, but it would be like a consistent warp. Again, I've never had this issue before. Like, this is totally foreign to me. So what do? Do I take something and water the holes out? But then is the exhaust ports going to be crooked? Or do I just need to go ahead and buy a new set of headers for it and just call it good? You know? That sucks too, because it's going to save me some coin. But I mean, there's nothing worse than some exhaust headers that does not fit. So So that's a wrap on this side. It took all 6 bolts, no problem. The gasket went on. It looks like it's clamping all the way. Like I said, I just had to basically just kind of wallow these holes just a little bit. And it's already, this header flange is slotted where they can move back and forth. It just was just minute amounts of metal I had to take off of it. So I don't think it's enough to have the ports, the exhaust ports crooked or kind of overhanging where the, what am I trying to say? Where the exhaust gases can burn out the side, but we're going to find out. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll see what it does though. Matt, I want to know when you're going to step up and start doing some big stuff, dude. This is the kind of rig you need to be towing stuff with. That is pretty rad. I like that. Haul just about anything you want with that rig. So, we took the car back to the car wash because I wanted to wash the engine bay to try to clean it up some. Well, if you noticed earlier, I had switched these shackles to lower the rear of the car. Well, I still have to cut the shackles themselves off, and I noticed when I loaded this car up, they're hanging up in the ramps. So I've got the Sawzall, I got my extension cord here, the generator, and we're going to go ahead and lop these things off so we can unload this thing and get it in the garage. So. Fire this thing up. So just so you know, Matt, next time you use this, I went ahead and took the liberty of taking my truck and smashing this other side. So now, before the latches didn't work, now the latches work. So all I had to do was smash the other side that you smashed. Wait a minute. Which side?
I smashed this side.
Okay, I had to smash this side, but now this latch works and holds the lid.
Hold on. So, we've got 1,
and I had to even it up on the other side.
2, and then, well, you can't see the power wagon, but it's out there and it's got a smash bumper. So this budget $50 box or $25 box has, cashed about $800 worth of bumpers or better. So,
yeah.
Just so everybody knows, don't put a big, stupid, wide box on the front of your trailer.
Nothing like the other box I had on.
I know.
You cried about that one.
Yeah, I hit it too.
Oh, man.
How'd you do?
Well, it's a little bit better, I guess. It'll take paint. Still got some crud on this wheel well though. Man, I don't know how. You'll just have to take some paint. We'll put it together.
What we got going on here?
I'm just trying to, usually I take and wire wheel and like really put some effort into cleaning these engine bays, but like for once I'm going to try, I just fogged a few little spots to see what it would look like with this semi-gloss black paint and just see what it looks like. I'm more than likely going to go over it and do it right, but I just wanted to test it to see if it was going to look, worth the darn.
Time will tell.
Because I'm getting impatient too. I want to get the motor in the car. So yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know yet. I'm trying to see if this gas is going to be... I know it's varnished slightly, but it's the rust that I'm worried about. It's still got a sock on it too. That's pretty interesting. So Yeah, a slight smell of varnish. Did I leave that light on the trailer? I've been curious to know if I might get a new gas tank or not. It didn't look terrible. It's kind of hard to see like that. You got your headlamp? That's not terrible. Oh yeah, it's got a little rust in it. I mean, not bad. No, it really isn't too bad. Good morning. So I'm gonna try on this again. I took it to the car wash again last night. Used super hot water. I've soaked it with that Purple Power Simple Green. It's just not coming clean. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's almost like our soap and our degreasers aren't cutting grease anymore. So it's like, I think what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna continue with that, but I've got those Brillo pads, like the SOS pads, and I'm just gonna get some super hot water and I'm just gonna scrub all the insides because it's still not looking that great. So I'm gonna roll this out. But yeah, I mean, you can see where I took a Brillo and went on some of it, but it's just got this funk on it. Like this stuff, like I could wipe that off. So I'm just gonna clean as best I can in here, and you can see where I bombed a few spots and it doesn't look very good. So I'm just gonna take my time and just to try to do some cleaning here. All right, I've done all the scrubbing I can do. I put the finest nozzle on that power washer that I had, and we went over and I just sprayed and scrubbed, and I don't know that I could get this any cleaner. Like, it's about as good as I can get it. So I'm trying to get this heater box cover, you know, because the blower will blow and duct and it gets rid of that big evaporator coil, but it's not fitting very well. Like, I've got it on there, I'm getting it screwed to the firewall, and I'll take it back off and use some silicone and seal it really good. But the problem now is I'm trying to get it fastened to the firewall, and I got to test our motor here, but the squirrel cage doesn't go in it. So I'm gonna have to clearance that as well. So I would almost say from Camaro Central, this box here does not fit all that well. So I'm gonna have to take and kind of clearance around this area to get that motor to fit in, and then hopefully it'll fit over that lip right there. I'm sure it may not. But the problem is I can't adjust the box any other way. Like, it's sitting where it's going to sit. So I don't know. But yeah, it's hopefully tonight I'll have all this engine bay masked off, and we'll hit it with some semi-gloss paint and then start getting everything laid out of the way, and hopefully get the it's over there now, get the engine set down in it. So this wasn't as easy as just putting it together as usual, you know, so this takes time, guys. So I'm gonna try to get this thing fitted up and clearance that box. All right, so I've done all the cleaning and scrubbing I can do. I've got the heater box on, but the problem here is now I got the squirrel cage where it fits. It doesn't fit flush against the firewall. So the squirrel cage is obviously too deep or whatever, and it's too shallow here. So I need a different squirrel cage, or this box actually doesn't fit one of these. Or maybe but that's supposed to be the box for a 70 through 81 Camaro. So I don't know. I'm gonna take a break from that because I'm getting frustrated, but I gotta finish. I ran out of tape, and I need to go ahead and finish masking this stuff off now. I tried, but I'm afraid I'm just gonna end up getting that black paint all over my fenders. So I'm gonna have to move away from that for the moment. But what happened yesterday when I was loading the car up, I was trying to get the angle right, and then you know, you had one of these cars before. These are very hard cars to push. They're very hard to pull because they sit low and all that, and you got all this plastic. Well, I had just tied my strap to that sway bar thinking that would get me up on the ramps and I could redo it. Well, no. I pulled the sway bar out of these brackets on the bottom. So I just now reattached that and put it back. So my next move, before I have to go pick the kiddo up from school, and then I'll go get some tape and a little more paint and stuff, I guess I could pull the steering wheel and try to put it in the dishwasher, because they said the dishwasher, that steam, and I guess the soap that you use or whatever, will take and clean these steering wheels. So in an effort to do that, I'm going to try to pull this wheel off real quick, and I might run it through the dishwasher, see what it does. But that's really all I can do right now. Because, like I said, I don't have all the supplies here and everything. And it's like if I go to town now, then I got to go pick the kiddo up. Then I've got to go back to town to pick something up here in a little bit anyway. So it's like I might as well just try to do some other stuff. But my goal is to get this engine bay painted and everything. That way, hopefully tomorrow, I can put the engine in. I did get the passenger side fender well all cleaned up and painted. It's still, this is supposed to be semi-gloss, but it's pretty glossy. I don't know. But I got both sides of that fender well done. So I'm hoping I can get all this painted where it looks pretty decent. And then I'm ready to start bolting this engine down in here and stuff. But it just goes to show, man, like the deal with the heater box, you never know what you're going to run into with this stuff. There's always a few things that, get in the way. So, yeah. All right, guys. It's the next morning. Yesterday evening, I went and got some materials and masked off that engine bay. And let's see how it turned out. I spent all day yesterday scrubbing it and cleaning it. And I've power washed this thing and hauled it several different times. But let's check it out and see if it looks pretty. All right, so let's see if all that scrubbing paid off. Now, I can't get in there and do a perfect job. The only way to do this exactly perfect is to completely disassemble everything and sand it and paint it individually. But I don't really want to do that because this car is just fine the way it is. But went ahead and painted the cowl. And then like this right here is actually blue and it has some overspray, but I scuffed it all up and painted it. But I think it turned out pretty good. And then I got the wheel well. I don't know if you see it's over there. Went ahead and done it, both sides. And then I found out, if I would have read the directions on this box, that you can get like the non-air conditioned car. Squirrel cage is shallower, so I'm gonna get a new squirrel cage. And I was thinking, as hard as this thing's kind of hard to turn. And as hard as this is to get to, like once the fender well's in, you're not getting to that. And I think I might just, if it's not too expensive, get a new motor and get that shallower squirrel cage. But you know what this means, guys. It's time to put that in there. So let's get this car out of here, move it that away, and start getting our stuff ready. We gotta get the transmission supported, my tie back things, kind of go over what I got in here. And let's put it in. I gotta take the headers off and everything. That's gonna be a nightmare to try to put those back on. But yeah. Looking good. I've took and repainted those brackets. I still got to run down and grab that water pump, but that's something I'll probably worry about later. But, oh crap, I forgot to tighten that plug up. Yep, it's leaking. Oh well. Anyways, let's get to work. All right, so we got our car moved out. I've got everything tied back out of the way. Got the transmission jack under there. Now I'm going to take the headers off of this engine and tighten up that oil plug. And we're going to pick this up, remove it from the stand. Get ready to set it down in there. So let's get to work. Okay, so the 350's bolted to the car, transmission, torque converter. I just put the headers on. I didn't put them on for good. I just wanted to put them on there to make sure I didn't have any clearance issues. I kind of like using these mid-link shorties. I know they give up some power, but like I could leave the brackets on the lower control arms and the frames that these cars come with. Let me show you. So I don't know if you can see. Probably have to go underneath. But usually on these cars, if you run long tubes, I just sit on something that stabbed me in the butt. But these brackets right here, they come factory on there, and they brace that lower control on the outside of it to the frame, you know, just for rigidity and stuff. So the header's gonna come down. Probably have to modify that a little bit. So that pipe's gonna come down. So these were on a second gen before, and it looks like they're not really hitting anything. I just got to get a new cable for the positive for the battery. Get the wires finished up, finish making up for the alternator. And then also, I got to pick up that new water pump tomorrow so I can get all the front dress on it. I'm just going to wash and clean the radiator out. Still trying to figure out, I'm kind of an Edelbrock guy. Part of me just wants to put an Edelbrock on there and forget it. But then part of me, I need to order the fuel pump rod on these. I think has got a different tip for this kind of cam, and I'm still waiting on the distributor from Blueprint. I need to call them and ask what rod to put on there, and then also what CFM carburetor they dynoed this car with, you know, so I could put the right one back on it. But the part that, like, I'd put a good double pumper on it, but it's got a 308 gear and a stock converter in it right now, and I don't know what direction I'm gonna end up going with that. So part of me just wants to buy an Edelbrock and put it on there, and just that way I know it'll run. And if I make some future modifications on lower gears, maybe a different, like an overdrive or something, you know, I kind of want to stick shift swap this car, because I mean, it seems kind of silly to have one of these. It's an automatic, you know, but we'll see where that goes. I don't know if I've made my decision, but yeah, for right now, that's as far as I'm going to make it today. My allergies kind of got me under the weather, so I think I'm going to call it a day, get some rest, and we'll plug back into it tomorrow.